all of those factors together. But to explain the significance of this, I need to tell you about my past summer. This past summer, I was an intern in Boston, Massachusetts. I'm a current student at Emory University. I'm originally from Florida, but I hadn't really spent a lot of time in the Boston area. In short, I was a stranger in a new town. Yes, I'd received a lot of great advice about cool museums to visit, cool restaurants to eat at, and other classic Bostonian picks of things to do, but I was still in a completely unfamiliar environment. As a multi-instrumentalist, I played the piano, guitar, bass, drums, clarinet, and tenor sax. I was itching to meet other like-minded artists and musicians to jam with while I was there. As luck would have it, I was strolling through the suburb one day, and I happened to run into a flyer on the side of the road, right there. It said, "Hey there, I'm Jerry, the tall guy pictured above, looking for new people to make a band with." He explained that his usual band is based out of Western Massachusetts for the summer, and so that he was looking for new pianists, guitarists, bassists, and the like to form a new band. He left his phone number at the bottom. And he also said that his main intention with starting the band was to bring people together because the world needed it. Something struck me viscerally about this flyer, and I kept thinking about it for hours. I knew I had to reach out to this guy. See, I've made a lot of music before, both at Emory and on my own. And when I've made music on my own before, I utilize a digital audio workstation called Logic Pro X. And I get to create the sonic experience from beginning to end and get it sounding perfect, or at least close to it for my ears. When I'm jamming with other people in bands, there's more give and take, there's more improvisation, and that has its associated pros and cons. But meeting up with a complete stranger is something I've never had the courage to actually follow through on. See, today we're inundated with the perceived dangers of others. We're told to avoid public areas, assume the worst of intentions of others, distrust passerbyers, and especially avoid meeting up with strangers we found over the internet or on flyers. But as I typed this guy's phone number into my phone, I realized I was just like everybody else I was seeing in the news, worried, afraid, and alone. I could blame it on all of the societal pressures that led me to that moment, but still, I was just like everybody else. So I texted him anyway. I said, let's meet up over the weekend. We exchanged, good times to meet. And I brought up that I had some reservations about meeting up with him because he had, a minimal social media presence. He was 29 and lived out of a big white box truck. So it was like a litany of red flags. And yet realistically, I thought, there's nothing actually to worry about here. We were going to meet up in a public area. We were going to jam with our instruments. I thought if this is my way to go out, then so be it. Saturday finally came. I Ubered over very nervously, and there he was, this stocky 6'3" gingerbread-looking man, extending his hand out to me and introducing himself as Jerry. And the box truck thing is actually for real. Like, he lives out of a mobile tiny home box truck that also functions as a performance stage. It's pretty ingenious. We exchanged some nice words, unpacked our instruments, and then proceeded to play some covers to an empty Boston parking lot. When I was on that stage, we were singing Radiohead covers and Otis Redding songs. It struck me how surreal and weird it was to be up there, that my entire life had led me to that one specific moment, just like my entire life has converged for me to be on this stage right now. When I was on that stage, I realized I always thought that music was a collection of notes put together in a palatable way for our ears. And in a technical sense, that's what it is. But when I was on that stage and people were walking up with babies and strollers or dancing and swaying with the music, I realized music was something much bigger than that. Music was tapping into this visceral, spiritual, emotional connection that's kind of hard to verbalize, and it's larger than life. I had a very similar experience during my sophomore fall at Emory. During my sophomore fall, I got some of my friends together to form a band ahead of Pulse's biannual symposium event. We filmed an audition video, sent it in, and lo and behold, we got the part. As the Friday event approached, I set up some practice times, and we finalized our set list. Also, academically, we have nothing in common. I'm a philosophy and political science major, we have 2 pre-med students, a neuroscience major, and a business major. But musically, we all share the same desire to put on a fantastic show. Friday finally came, they called our name on stage, we looked at each other very nervously, and plugged in our amps and proceeded to play a fiery rendition of Milky Chance's Stolen Dance. And the rest is history. We've gone out to perform many times as a band since then, but nothing would really match the trepidation and anxiety of that first show. Talk about first impressions. But neither of these experiences would have been possible without what American political scientist Robert Putnam calls bridging social capital. Bridging social capital, to borrow the term from Putnam, connects us to people who are not like us rather than like us. The more bridging social capital we have in our lives, the stronger we become, and it can even strengthen our communities. Meeting up with people is seen as a rarity nowadays, and I find that to be tragic. Meeting up with Jerry over the summer and starting a band at Emory have been some of the most formative moments of my young adult life. This is bigger than music. We can all find ways to infuse bridging social capital into our lives, irrespective of our interest or whatever. I happen to have found this through jamming and making music, but the medium is completely irrelevant. If you're into sports analytics, join a sports analytics club. If you're into poetry, join a poetry club. If you're into ceramics, find a club that does that. If you're into photography, get some of your friends together and take pictures of the great outdoors. Possibilities are endless. Crucially, and this is important, if you have some sort of interest that's not reflected in a current club, then be that change and create that forum. Chances are other people are probably into that weird niche thing you are. You can at least join in person about it. Be that change, and it will pay dividends. You don't need a fully realized version of what that may be yet. I certainly don't. I know for a fact, jamming over the summer and starting a band and releasing music on my own has solidified that music will always play an important role in my life. But all of these experiences have also exemplified the importance of social connection in our increasingly distracted and isolated world. I'll leave you with one final thought. In life, there's a time for planning, and then there's a time for experimentation. When I ran into that flyer on the side of the road, I was making a calculated risk that happened to have paid off. We all need to start jamming more, both within ourselves and within our broader community. So I implore you, let's jam more. Thank you.